Tēnā koutou ina mātawaka, tēnā koutou te haikainga nā iwi o Taranaki, tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou I ranga I te kaupapa o te rā, noi reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Thank you, Justine, for the introduction, and thanks for the organisers, Venture Taranaki and Araaki, for inviting me to speak this morning. I'm delighted that you are able to hide a hybrid in-person and online event this year. I myself can't be in two places at once, and I'm grateful to be able to join you virtually today. The Offshore Future Energy Forum is a valuable event for interested parties across government, industry and academia. It provides an important forum to recognise and celebrate success, discuss issues and plan for the future transformation of our energy sector so that we can achieve a net zero carbon Aotearoa by 2050. Wind energy is a critical piece of that transformation, and the collective expertise in the room today has a key role to play. It's heartening to see the sector's positive response so far to delivering on our net zero carbon future. A number of businesses are already demonstrating leadership by making renewable energy investment decisions. Much of this investment is in onshore wind due to the cost effectiveness and abundant wind resource across Aotearoa. Offshore renewable energy also presents an increasingly exciting opportunity to support Aotearoa's transition to net zero carbon by 2050, as it can stimulate regional economic activity, create jobs and provide renewable electricity to support our transition and meet the Commission's recommendations. The scale or size of generation that offshore wind and other forms of renewable energy may provide could make it an ideal energy source for large-scale production processes and power-to-X technology, such as the creation of green hydrogen by electrolysis. It's also exciting to note that job creation from offshore renewable energy development and potentially new energy-intensive industry could provide a transition pathway for regional employment directly and indirectly related to offshore oil and gas for Taranaki. I'm sure many of you worked hard recently to submit feedback on Te Waihanga's draft New Zealand infrastructure strategy. The draft strategy recommends establishing an offshore energy regulatory framework in the years 2027 to 2031. Although the draft strategy is now with ministers for consideration, Te Waihanga is still accepting public feedback. I expect conversations over the next 2 days could further inform Te Waihanga's recommendations. I certainly recognise that in order to realise the potential benefits from offshore renewable energy, it is important to give industry certainty about the future prospects for offshore renewable energy in New Zealand's territories and provide prospective developers the certainty they need to make the large-scale investments needed to develop the sector. But it's also important we take our time to get the regulatory settings right so that we can enable offshore renewable investment and innovation while balancing the impacts on Māori rights and interests, marine life protections and of course fisheries. And that's why I'm keen for my officials to begin work in the second half of next year to understand the optimal regulatory environment for enabling investment in offshore renewable energy. I look forward to seeing this work progress and seeing this nascent industry develop and thrive here in New Zealand. You'll be aware of the Climate Change Commission's recommendations to achieve our first 3 emissions budgets. The proposed pathways aimed at meeting the net zero carbon target by 2050 are ambitious, but they are also technologically and economically realistic. And importantly, they consider the impact they will have on people, something that is very important to me personally. We must continue to make energy more affordable for more New Zealanders. Encouragingly, the Commission's report shows we have the tools and the technologies available today to make big strides towards a clean, green and productive economy. Submissions closed yesterday on the emissions reduction plan discussion document. The energy and industry component is set in the context of the New Zealand's emission trading scheme and considers a broad scope of complementary measures for emissions reductions in the sector for the short and longer term. I'm sure many of you will have taken the opportunity to share your views, and I thank you for making that effort to do so. Your feedback is valuable for helping to shape our future. In response to the Climate Change Commission's recommendations, one of the areas we asked about was the key priorities, challenges and opportunities an energy strategy must address. We also asked what areas require clear signalling to set a pathway for transition. The Climate Change and Productivity Commissions have also recommended enabling a fast-paced and sustained build of low-emissions electricity generation and infrastructure. The resource management reforms currently underway are a significant part of meeting this recommendation. These reforms are developing replacement legislation for the RMA and a new national planning framework with integrated policies and standards for the development of energy infrastructure. This government is ambitious for our energy system. We want it to provide opportunities to grow the economy by driving innovation in clean energy, creating new jobs and providing export opportunities. We have set up the New Zealand Battery Project as a base case to help us solve New Zealand's lack of dry year storage in our electricity system and reduce reliance on fossil fuels, which will help us unleash New Zealand's strategic advantage of low-cost renewable energy. We also continue to explore the opportunities of green hydrogen, and we have a target for 100% renewable electricity by 2030. Next year we will publish Aotearoa's first emissions reduction plan and will implement resource management reform to support greater environmental outcomes. So to wrap up, this is an exciting time to be part of the New Zealand wind energy sector, which has such an important role to play in helping us achieve our shared climate goals, unlocking electrification, providing highly skilled jobs for Kiwis, and ultimately transforming our economy into a clean, green and productive future. Offshore renewable energy is particularly exciting, given the scale of the transformation in electricity generation it can provide. I'm looking forward to exploring these opportunities and associated challenges in the coming years and to continuing the dialogue with you all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this forum about offshore renewable energy and the shared plans that we have underway to enable the low emissions transition.